All right, welcome in. It is a college football weekend. We are live here at Lakeside Lodge. My buddy Will Vandervoort, the Clemson Insider, Sturge right here. And we're going to get you ready for a 3:30 kickoff in Death Valley tomorrow between SMU, 4-2, 2-0 in the ACC, and Clemson, 3-3 and 2-2 overall. 3:30 kickoff on the ACC network. So, Will, I guess it starts with we're happy it's not a noon kickoff in the Valley.
I'm very happy it's not a noon kickoff, but it would have been a noon kickoff if I was doing the Tiger pregame show.
Right.
That seems like every Tiger pregame show I've done is a noon kickoff. So so tomorrow I don't have to do one, so of course it's a 3:30 kick. So everybody else gets to sleep in, but I'll sleep in tomorrow too. So I'm looking forward to getting a little bit of sleep and not having to get up at the crack of dawn to do
Hey,
Tiger
listen,
pregame show.
you can feel it when you walk into Lakeside Lodge where we're here doing the show in Clemson. A noon kickoff, things are a lot more subdued on Friday nights. Why? Some of these people will get up at 6 a.m. to go set their tailgate up and do that kind of thing. 3:30 seems to be ideal, at least around Lakeside Lodge. So, when we get off the air, we're going to hang out, catch some live acoustic music from Matt Phillips. Apologies to anybody that's thinking it was Chris McCarty. So many times in life, Will, when we say something like that, we're getting ready to say something bad happened to somebody, Well, Chris had a situation where something good happened. He is featured in the new release, A Love Letter to the Beatles on Amazon.
Nice.
And had to, while he gets to go do all this PR stuff, people like me have to go do all the nasty work of canceling shows that he's got booked in the next 4 weeks. But no, when something good happens to one of our guys, we want to let people know. So if you're a Beatles fan, Chris is featured in the new Beatles documentary, Love Letter to the Beatles. So we have a guy by the name of Matt Phillips, plays a little bit of everything. So get on out here. We also plan on, before we get out, we should have an update on what the quarterback situation is going to be for the Clemson Tigers at 3:30 tomorrow, because right now, Will, there is a big, huge question mark over the fact will Cade Klubnik line up under center tomorrow.
Yeah, if you saw a report on the ClemsonInsider.com, we gave you the latest information as far as where he's at. I can tell you this much: he didn't practice on Monday. He practiced a little bit on Tuesday where he tried to go, really couldn't do much. On Wednesday, he went out there and really couldn't put much pressure on his plant foot, so there was a little concern about, where he's at. And so, so now, we'll find out, did he practice yesterday? Mum's been the word coming out of Clemson's camp, so we don't know, which is a big day because you would like to have practice on one of those 3 days. I know from what I was told, Cade wants to play. He's doing everything he can. He's getting his treatment. He's doing everything he can to get ready. But, man, he's got one of those ankle sprains that are just nagging, and those things are difficult to heal no matter how much treatment you get. And when he does the regular stuff, it feels good. But when you get out on the practice field and you're cutting and everything, totally different things. So as of Wednesday night, Dabo Swinney said it was probably going to be a game-time decision. We'll see if that stayed true. He did mark him as questionable last night in the ACC release. It's coming out again at 8 o'clock. We're going to have it here to see what Clemson has marked him. Is he questionable? Is he out? It's either him or Tristan Lee. Tristan Lee, by the way, also on that injury report. Only two, everybody else has been out for a while that's on the list. They're the only two ones sitting there with questionable. Everybody else is ready to go.
So let me ask you this. I'll take you. I'm the host and you're the color announcer here.
Okay.
Why is Cade Klubnik in the game up 35-3, maybe, or 34-3, maybe 34-10 at that point? But the point being, the game was out of reach. There's 1 minute left in the third quarter. You got an issue with the backup quarterback in Vizina that needs as many snaps as possible to get better, because Clemson is going to have an upcoming quarterback controversy, and that's going to be, has Vizina showed this staff enough to be a number one quarterback next year? You're going to have to go look in the portal. That's a different story for a different day.
Correct.
That being said, Klubnik gets bent backwards. Why was he out there? I get it. The third quarter has been a stagnant quarter for Clemson football. The last 2 weeks, it's been have a great first half and then take the third and fourth quarter off, but you still win in a blowout. So hindsight's 50-50. I'll ask the question, why do you think Cade was out there nearly with the third quarter expired?
I don't know, because I wish I did. I wish I knew the answer, because normally Dabo in those situations has already taken his quarterback and a lot of other guys out. But he was out there with the first team. And I got even more of a question was, and this is for Garrett Riley more so, why are you calling a quarterback draw?
Right.
I mean, hand the ball off to one of your running backs. Don't let your quarterback, because at that point, Boston College knows they're losing. They see the starting quarterback running. I'm sorry. Defenders love to they love to hit the quarterback.
Hey, listen, you remember Friday Night Lights when Booty Miles got knocked out of the game and they gave each other a little high five?
Yeah.
Dude, somebody was getting a star on the back of their helmet for that hit.
It's football. And so I'm with you. I don't know why he's out there. He didn't need to be out there because the defense is playing lights out at that point. Boston College had finished the game only 221 yards. I mean, they held Boston College to 51 yards of offense in the second half. 51 yards of total offense. So he didn't need to be out there. The game was not in jeopardy at any stretch. I'm as confused about it as you are. The only thing I can think of is Dabo wanted to keep the team in rhythm. They were about to score there, and that's the only thing. And he probably was going to take him out after that. But
Again,
left him in. It's just like a pitcher. Sometimes you leave the pitcher in too long. I think he left Cade in too long.
Hindsight being 2020, why is Dabo maybe thinking about that? Well, you look at back-to-back wins again on the road, and that's going to bring up some questions come third segment when we look at the SMU game tomorrow. But it's been a tale of two halves. You're talking about consecutive games that the Tigers have put up 35 and 34 points in the first half, but only a total of 10 in the second half for those two games combined. So, yeah, the next thing this team needs to do is answer, can you now play 4 quarters? But, boy, that becomes a whole lot more difficult question if you don't know the starting quarterback's playing tomorrow.
Right, and you better play 4 quarters tomorrow because you're playing a team who's, they're really good on offense. And they got some pretty good dudes on defense too. And they're going to bring it tomorrow. They got revenge on their mind.
Thank you.
And so they smell blood in the water. They know Clemson's probably not going to play a starting quarterback. I mean, everything that SMU wants is sitting on the table for them to come in here and hand Clemson its third loss in Death Valley, which would be the first time since 2001 that has happened, where Clemson's lost 3 home games in one season.
Oh, and then you take it back to the season finale, which he lost to South Carolina last year. That's 4 out of 5 games in Death Valley in which you've had a loss.
Or you can say they would be their 5th straight loss against a Power 4 opponent.
There you go.
Dating back to last year when they beat Virginia as the last one they beat. So they've lost to Louisville so far, lost to South Carolina to end last season. Then they open this year losing to LSU, and then Syracuse. If that happens, what were you doing in 1971?
I think I was begging my mom for one of those popsicles in the freezer. The little frozen rail thing.
I wasn't even around.
I know you weren't. I was born in '68.
1970-71 seasons, they had 6 straight losses against Power 5 opponents in Death Valley. So that's what we're talking about. That's
what
historic.
did they not have on the side of the helmet in 1971?
Well, they had the Tiger Paw.
Did they have the Tiger Paw?
Yeah,
in
the Tiger
71?
Paw was. Yeah, the Tiger Paw was born in July of 1970.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's why you got to go check out Will Vandervoort. Find him on Twitter at SteelerWill. Also, the book, The Hidden
History of Clemson
Hidden
Football.
History
The
of Clemson
story of the
Football.
Tiger Paws in there.
Right. So go check that out. 2021 Top 10 College Football Book of the Year. So with offense, you've seen a little bit more against 2 teams that are not the best in the ACC. The defense has gotten better as well, Will. Could it be as simple as Tom Allen moving from the box down to the field where you're talking about an intense defensive coordinator, when you got to come off and stare somebody in the eye and you haven't done your job or you haven't given 100%, it's a lot more difficult when they're standing right in front of you versus when they're talking on headphones. What has been the difference in the buy-in on the Clemson defense the past 2 weeks, minus you dealt with North Carolina and Boston College?
Yeah, I mean, obviously some of it is just who you're playing. But Boston College, I want to give this out so people understand.
Offensive line.
Boston College, and they're pretty good on offense. At that time, they led the ACC in passing yards and were 11th in the country going into that game against Clemson. Clemson held 137 yards. So shout out to Clemson's defense, right? Because you did your job there. And yes, they're better. Tom, you got more accountability when your defense coordinator's down there. But I think the main thing that helps him, besides his energy and stuff like that, is the fact that he can coach them down there. And I think that's what's helped a lot, especially your linebackers, which is what he does, him and Ben Bower. Ben's a great linebacker, going to be a great linebackers coach, I think, when it's all said and done.
But he's inexperienced.
But he's inexperienced his first year. Tom Allen's down there. He's seen things. He's been around the block. He can coach up those linebackers better. And that's where the improvement has been at the linebackers play. And the defensive line has been playing lights out the last couple games. And we're going to get into that. You talked about that earlier. But when your linebackers are doing what they're supposed to do, which we're seeing now, that makes everything on the back end play better.
Well, I think the linebackers stepping up, I felt like through a few games they were reacting and making the tackles on the short throw in front of them. They weren't attacking. And I'm like, this is not what you signed up for when you brought in Sammy Brown, a sophomore who was the nation's #1 player. Let him loose, and I agree with you. I think they've done that the past 2 weeks. Also, your defense becomes incredibly better when they lead the country. Right now, Clemson is allowing 2.9 seconds per play before they hit the quarterback. That is the lead in the country. That means that I sat down when this came out the other day, Will, and I sat there in the recliner, and yes, I proved that I can count to 3 if I get my fingers out. That's number 1. Okay, there's that Bama education. But 1, 2, 3. Even doing it slow, that is a tremendously quick amount of time to make a decision in which you believe in.
Yeah.
Because it's not just making a decision. To be successful as a quarterback, it better be a decision that you believe in.
Absolutely.
And that is extremely fast.
Yeah. First of all, teams are getting the ball out fast.
Yeah.
So they got to be. And that's why teams are doing that. You're seeing the screens and stuff like that. You saw Boston College doing it, dinking and dunking, right? In that first half, they went hurry up. You're probably going to see SMU do a lot of hurry up tomorrow afternoon, because – if you saw Boston College, when they were doing well there in the first half, Clemson had to adjust. They were dinking and dunking it, no huddle, going fast as they can. Why? Because of what you just said. That defensive line is so good, you got to be ahead of the sticks, because if you get in 3rd and long and your quarterback's got to drop back, you're toast. Because last week, and you mentioned the Boston College offensive line, they're big guys. Clemson just ran right over them. And by the way, Jaheim Lawson, man, what a job he's doing. He's playing. They're playing. They call it the rabbit package, and they put Jaheim Lawson inside and put that way. They got 3 defensive ends on the field, so he's next to Peter Woods. And dude, he twice just pulled the guard and center straight into the quarterback, and then Peter Woods was able to rope around and get to the quarterback. It's like, when you got a guy that could do that at 260 pounds, that says a lot.
So now tomorrow, the key is, okay, you come back to Death Valley feeling better about things. You've won back-to-back road games. Now, I also see a team that just a couple of weeks ago, when you and I sat next to the press box in Atlanta, I popped you in the side and I said, this team's not having any fun.
Right.
I saw difference out of that, and it can be little things like Peter Woods lining up and getting a first down. I mean, the whole team buys into that kind of thing. You know what? Maybe you think Alabama and Caden Proctor going, wow, look at that. But now it seems like people have rebought in. The sad thing is you've got no margin of error, if any, with 3 losses. The best that you can hope for now is what I would term back in the day coastal chaos is how we would call it. Yeah. And it needs to start right now with a kickoff with Louisville upsetting Miami in the Orange Bowl, because why? Clemson at least gets the chance to go hang a loss on Louisville on a Friday night in November.
Right, and you also want Georgia Tech to lose to Duke.
Absolutely.
But why? Well, because Clemson gets a chance to hang a loss on Duke, and that gives them a loss, right? And then you hope they stumble at some point down the road. And what you need is chaos, like you said. And you need a lot of it.
And
Clemson
we may
mathematically
see that because every week we have seen a couple of games that make your head scratch your head. And then with the next winner on college football head coach firing come on down, and yes, I mean winner. We have 8 jobs open at the FBS level right now, guaranteeing over $200 million to not go
why
coach.
You said winner because of the
buyout.
buyout.
You gonna pay me $93 million to not do something? Man, you will never see me on this show, on social media, or anywhere else.
Here's the best thing about James Franklin's buyout. I didn't know this till I was talking to my boss yesterday at the Clemson Insider. Okay, it's a $49 million buyout, right?
Yeah.
All right, so he can go coach at Florida. And Florida can pay him $1 million. And Penn State's got to pay him $9 million.
Yep.
How about that next year?
Sign
me up for that.
Dude, I was talking to my friend Bryson, who came in with me from Blairsville. And, I remember one of the things that my parents kind of laid the laws down on in the late 70s was, I know you guys are all athletes, but you're not getting into coaching. A, it's a very stressful job. B, there's no money in it. How I would like to be able to stare at my mom and dad right now and go, you were not wrong on very much, but you were definitely wrong on coaching.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
and listen, I'm convinced that I could do it after being at ACC basketball tip-off in Charlotte this past week. Cliff, who does our shows, sitting over here. It took me a second to realize that was Pat Kelsey, Louisville's head coach. How does he stare down a 7-footer at 5'10.5"? You know what I mean?
Down, you do this.
No kidding. You look at all the, Miami's head coach. He's short. I was like, yes, it felt like a short man's convention there. So I'm not.
Coach Brownell came in.
Yeah. By the way, 18 years now, and we can let people know they were playing their exhibition opener tonight against PC. R.J. Godfrey went down with an injury right at the beginning of the game, but right before we got on the air, he was back out there on the floor, so it couldn't have been too bad. All right, Will, so here's what we're going to do. When we come back, we're going to take a look around. I'm going to save what I call this weekend in the ACC till we come back on the other side. We do have some good national games, and then, of course, in the final segment, we'll start breaking down what Clemson now needs to do to be successful against SMU with or without Cade Klubnik at quarterback. Now, we're here at Lakeside Lodge in Clemson. It's the premier place here in Tigertown. In 2 weeks, man, come hang out for Halloween with us. I can't wait to see what Will Vandervoort's going to dress up with. I bet it has Pittsburgh Steelers or something to do with it. But we have an 8-member band by the name of Odyssey that's going to be playing for the Halloween party out here. I think I'm going to challenge everybody to a Halloween costume here on the show.
They can't play Space Odyssey, though.
I don't think they do.
Okay, good.
I really don't.
That's good. That's good.
But
it's not allowed here.
Yeah, but listen, it doesn't matter if it's Friday nights and you stop by Traditions on the Lake at Lakeside Lodge, one of the absolute best menus that you're ever going to come across. Just listen, you can go to so many restaurants these days, and they seem like it's the same menu, just laid out a little differently. I'll make you the promise. It's not the case with Traditions on the Lake. You can find out everything about this great condo hotel, Lakeside Lodge, Clemson.com. Also, if you're looking for news during the week, things of that nature, the Clemson Insider, Will Vandervoort's got you covered, the senior writer. You can follow him on Twitter at SteelerWill. But, y'all do such a good, you mentioned Robert, y'all do such a good job over there covering and encompassing Clemson. But also, the best thing out there as I get older, it's free.
Absolutely. It's free. Come on over. Check us out. Jason Priester does a great job recruiting. Mm-hmm. Nobody does it better in the business. Check out his stuff. He's always on top of things in recruiting. He's also on top of everything because Jason was at baseball today, baseball scrimmage. Then he went over to the basketball exhibition game, and he'll cover football tomorrow. He works way harder than I do. So go check out Jason's stuff. He'll have everything covered over there. Obviously, you could read the football stuff.
And is that tomorrow that Coach Bisaccia and the baseball team have that really interesting day set up with Alabama where there'll be a scrimmage?
That'll be next week.
Next
the open date. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and the Bananas are coming next Thursday, I believe. Yes, the Bananas are coming next Thursday, so they'll be playing the Savannah Bananas over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, and then on Saturday they'll be playing Alabama. I think 11 innings.
Bama's coming to South Carolina for 2 scrimmages this fall.
Yeah.
Let's just hope it's a third one on the 24th.
By the way, in 2 months. We got Clemson going over to Alabama for basketball.
Alabama is coming over next week to open up Furman's new arena in their exhibition game. So
how about this? One of my former student workers, she covers Alabama men's basketball for the newspaper down there in Tuscaloosa.
Maybe they get brought up here in the next segment. Yeah. But when we come back, we'll take a look across what some people might call ACC football this weekend. We'll be right back.
To the innovators, the disruptors, the game changers, the ones who brave the frontiers of knowledge with relentless curiosity. There is a place where you belong, a place that gives you an advantage. Furman is your launch pad, your proving ground, your home. Here you're not just learning, you're evolving, igniting, propelling from who you are to who you're destined to be.
It's more than football.
Let's all come together to be a bridge builder through this great game to change the lives of the people in the state of South Carolina.
Together, we can be a voice to help educate, encourage, and empower excellence in our youth and community.
Join the movement and help support all that the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is doing to embrace this mission of celebrating, recognizing, and encouraging excellence.
I'm here at one of my favorite places in Greenville. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill, 215 Pelham Road, here in the Commons at Pelham. And listen, there's a lot going on at Tip It Back here during the week. First of all, there's happy hour, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 p.m. There's great food. They're open at noon for lunch. But Mondays, you can enjoy live trivia at 7 p.m., then Monday Night Football. On Thursdays, it's football and then karaoke. On Friday night, some of the best live entertainment in the upstate. And then Saturday, it's football all day and finishes off with karaoke. And then Sunday, it's NFL football. And if you're a Steelers fan, this is your spot. It's the home for the Steelers. They're on the broadcast here in the bar all day long. That's Tip It Back Sports Grill. Check them out. It'll be your home for college football.
All right, welcome back in. Straight Up with Sturge, joined by my good friend Will Vandervoort of the Clemson Insider. Follow him on Twitter at SteelerWill, me at Sturgis Sports. But, of course, go to the website, straightupsports.net. Every week, I kind of mine the field for links so that you don't have to go out there and do it yourself. I've had a couple of very nice thank you letters for doing that. But, you know, of course, Bob Gillespie and Scott Kiefer and me and McCain Childress writing and, you know, Cliff keeping us up on the air. So we're going to talk about the ACC and national games of the week. And you know what? This feels like an embarrassment for ACC football this week. Let's call it the reclamation project of Big East football this week when it comes to the schedule. But I have a little bit of breaking news for you.
Okay, go ahead.
7 p.m. kickoff down at Hard Rock Stadium, Louisville, 4-1 on the season at number 2 and 5-0 Miami. Louisville just scored again to go up 14-0. 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Maybe
so
there's
we're
chaos.
talking coastal chaos, baby, coastal chaos. But listen, the founders of the ACC would be embarrassed if they looked across the schedule this weekend, because we mentioned that great Big East matchup of Louisville and Miami right there. Well, at 10:30, you know, you got one of the founding members of the ACC with the newbies tonight. North Carolina 2-3 at Cal. Yeah, the biggest question a couple of weeks ago was, would Belichick coach the next North Carolina game? And then guess what? He's going to be coaching tomorrow night. And James Franklin got bought out on Sunday after a loss to Northwestern.
By the way, did you see that video that's going around of him last year when he was doing NFL film stuff? And it's bad. He had a hot mic on, and him and her, it's bad, dude. She's like trying to tell the guys at NFL Films how to do their jobs. And
talking about Jordan?
Yes.
Okay.
It's and then they go off and they don't realize their mic's on and they start talking about the people that are working there.
Yeah, people,
it's bad, dude.
People ask me, and I can share this
I'll share it to you
because
off
it's
there.
been confirmed. Man, what do you think? You know, she's 24 years old. What do you think her mom thinks? I think her mom's standing at the end of the bed like South Carolina fans before.
Remember that
the
Reba
team runs
McEntire
up.
song?
She owns an online sex shop.
You know that Reba McEntire song?
No.
Patsy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patsy.
Yeah.
So-
You know Go make Mama proud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Mama's proud
think-
knowing what she owns.
I'm just
is an
saying.
online
I'm
sex
just
store.
saying. I think we're
Okay.
both on the same page.
All right, so we continue the Big East theme of ACC
talk football.
tomorrow.
Let's talk football.
At noon, you got that old school matchup: UConn 4-2 at Boston College 1-5. Get where I went with this traditional ACC football weekend. I won't even call this one much of a traditional game, and it's more traditional than a lot of them. This game you need to pay attention to.
At least one team's
tomorrow.
almost been in the ACC 50
Yep.
years.
Georgia Tech 6-0 at Duke 4-2.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know what switch Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils turned on about halftime of that game at Cal 2 weeks ago. But they've been lights out ever since.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, Georgia Tech 6-0. I will not pay attention. If Haynes King, if I see a Heisman list come out and Haynes King is not listed in the top 10, basically that's a garbage list for me right now. Should he win it? No. But he's by far the most valuable player to his team. Georgia Tech, I got the feeling Georgia Tech better be on the upset alert in Durham tomorrow because Duke's playing good football, and Haynes King does look a little bit beat up.
Well, here's why. I've already predicted it. Georgia Tech's losing by 14 points.
You really? Okay.
Yeah, because they should have lost to Wake Forest.
Yes.
I mean, they did. If the official does his job, game, set, match.
Dude,
it's first down, game's over, victory formation for Wake Forest. They did everything they could to win the game. So they should have won the game. And so that's what I'm saying. With that said, if Wake Forest can jump out to a 14-0 lead on Georgia Tech, they just don't have a good enough defense. If they do that to Duke, if Duke jumps out to a 14-0 lead, it's going to get to 21-0. It's going to get to 21-7, 28. They're not, because Duke's got a running game that could keep the lead. Duke's also got a quarterback. You talked about, Case King, and I agree he's great. But Darian Minshew for Duke,
Duke's getting their money's worth.
1,838 yards, averaging 9 yards per attempt. 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completing 69.8% of his passes. That's the ACC Player of the Year right there, in my opinion. And when he beats Georgia Tech tomorrow, that's going to put him right there.
I think
at the top
it also
of it.
depends on what Miami does too. If Miami goes through 12-0, 13-0.
Well,
I don't.
the good news is he's going to play him.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But anyway, I think Duke's got the better overall quarterback. Key word. I think Georgia Tech does have a great player at quarterback, but not quarterback.
Georgia Tech, good football team, but Duke was down 21-7 at Cal and came back and won 45-21. I mean,
and they got a running game that's just amazing.
Yeah. So
and a defense is good too.
It's going to be interesting. Now there are two teams that I feel sorry for in college football this year. And yes, they're getting to play college football. Some are getting paid, getting a free education, but what's left of the Pac-12, Washington State and Oregon State. Have you seen how they've had to sell their soul just to fill out a football?
Yeah.
Last week, Oregon State came over and played at Appalachian State, all right? They've already had to come over one time this year. This weekend, you see Washington State come all the way across country to take on Tony Elliott, number 18 Virginia, who's 5-1. So, yeah, those cross-country trips are going to end up adding
But didn't
up
Oregon
with those
State
kids.
almost just knock off Ole Miss last week?
No, that's Washington State. They're
That
coming
almost
back
knocked off-
this way.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they're coming for the
Okay.
second consecutive week.
Yeah.
And, Lane Kiffin admitted, man, we were already doing stuff for the Georgia game the next week. That's why you cannot look ahead. Dabo Swinney is consistent about one thing. The biggest game is the next one on our schedule.
Absolutely, I agree.
So, Washington State and Oregon State. God, I hope those kids were smart enough to get frequent flyer miles before the season started. I did a hit the other night with my friend who's a Miami fan. Of course, his big worry is Cristobal's going to Cristobal at some point.
Well, 14-0.
Yep.
Maybe this is the Cristobal
but
night.
He asked me about Virginia, number 18, now 5-1, and what I really thought of him. I said, I think that Tony Elliott has made the point that he has saved that program after what went on with the loss of a couple of players being shot by a
bowl
teammate.
eligible tonight if they win.
Yeah,
Tomorrow
exactly.
if they win.
So now. Does Tony show loyalty, or what's going to be the craziest coaching carousel that we will probably ever see in our lifetime? Does he go get paid even more than he's already getting paid? That might be interesting. But
I think Tony, because where he comes from and his background, and he's seen Dabo turn down job after job and stay at Clemson, right? I think he stays loyal because he built the program. And I think he'll probably want to see where it goes.
Well, they could have fired him last year.
They could have.
And guess what? Loyalty. And
They were loyal to him, so he's got
Tony doesn't like a lot of chatter in his life. Let's be honest. One of the more quiet people I've ever met. Unless he gets you one-on-one, then he can open up.
Now, if Mama comes calling Tony Elliott, that's different.
That's whole
and Mama
different
be Clemson.
Game. You know, I agree with what Joel Klatt said the other night. Like, you know, you're Penn State. You just fired a guy that made the college football playoffs last year, averaged 11.3 wins at Penn State. Who do you go get to replace? He said the first phone call's got to be to Nick Saban and make him tell him no.
Well, the second phone call's Kirby Smart. The third phone call's Dabo Swinney.
Signetti seemed to take his name off the market with a $113 million contract, 93
now, you know what he just did? Now, if you're Kirby Smart, you're saying, hey, if it's Signetti, he's making he's like right near where I'm at, and I'm a 2-time national championship winning coach. I think it's payday for Kirby Smart, and I think it's payday for Dabo Swinney.
Well, I also think
even though Clemson's 3-3,
the one thing that Clemson's 3-3, the one thing that Georgia has.
Of course, Dabo don't care about the money though.
Yeah, same thing with Kirby, but the one thing that Georgia still has to have with Kirby Smart is buy-in to his program. There's too many speeding tickets and late.
Well, they buy in; they just like to speed through it.
Yeah, that's actually pretty good there. All right, 7:30 tomorrow night. Pitt 4-2 at Syracuse 3-3. Get the whole Big East comment earlier.
Yeah,
it's old school Big East game.
I got it. Yeah,
and then finally, Florida State, you know, old Metro Conference team back in the day. They're going across the country to play at Stanford. Listen,
finally can end that. What is it? 8 straight conference losses.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I tell you what. The heat got turned up a notch on Norvell this past week after that loss at home to Pittsburgh.
It should have.
Yeah, he's just not.
They're paying him $10 million, and they went 2-10, and now they're 3-3. Absolutely, the heat should be turned up on.
I hear. I've watched
if they
him
lose
at
this week, he
ACC
probably
football
gets fired.
kickoff. He's very standoffish, but for whatever reason, it must work in the locker room with the players. Otherwise, I think he'd be gone already.
If he loses this week, if they lose to that Stanford team, he's done.
All right, so who is the coach that's going to find themselves the next winner on You're Fired?
Could be Mike Norvell.
Could be Norvell. Or I think it's going to be Luke Fickell after they get stomped by Ohio State tomorrow. Luke Fickell's taking a proud Wisconsin program and just run it in the ground. So I think Luke Fickell.
Luke Fickell's probably next. And then we already know reports came out during the week that Billy Napier, even if he wins, he's probably fired.
Yeah. So if I happen to mention your name in my column on straightupsports.net, you're getting ready to hit the lottery. It means you might lose your job, but you're hitting the lottery.
For those BHP fans out there, my good friend Bart Boatwright just texted me touchdown. Go Bears, as he likes to say. The Bears scored. So
okay. So, and real quickly, it's 14-7 Louisville, but Louisville's got the ball at midfield at 3rd and 1. So, other games of interest tomorrow. Boy, listen, I know we're not supposed to be SEC fans over here in ACC country, but the SEC's got a schedule stacked a mile high tomorrow. And forget, Brent Venables at 12:45 makes his way back to the Palmetto State. We're going to find out a lot about Venables this week at South Carolina. How you handle a defeat. They have been inflated and inflated and inflated. Now they got to answer how.
This is when you find, Dabo always says, right, when you lose that first game, you find out about your team, how you handle adversity.
Yep. So we're going to find that out from Brent and squad tomorrow at 3:30. I think this may very well be the game of the weekend. Number 5, Ole Miss, 5-0 at number 9, Georgia, 5-1. This is not the Georgia team from a couple of years ago, where back-to-back national championships, but they're strong. They are physical.
They can run the
went
football.
on the road, and even with the help of the officiating, they get out of Auburn with a very emotional win this past Saturday night. When I think of Ole Miss at number 5, I think of a flash football program. I'm not sure that's going to survive between the hedges tomorrow. I think Georgia just wears them down over the course of the game.
Georgia hasn't done what yet? They haven't played a complete game.
Right.
Yet. They haven't.
Who's got the best quarterback? I don't know. It might be this D2 transfer, Trinidad and Tobago. I can't remember what Trinidad's last name is, but my point being, I know that's a country. Question is, will I see him in the Winter Olympics? I seriously doubt it. All right, so also 7:30 tomorrow night in that night slot, early night slot tomorrow night. Some great games. Number 20 Southern Cal. 5-1 at number 13 Notre Dame 4-2. Why is this game important? In my opinion, this is more or less a playoff elimination game.
Yeah, I agree. And Southern Cal, if they win this game, they probably win out.
Yeah.
And so
Notre Dame loses, they can't go back to the committee and say we got screwed on that last call against Texas A&M.
It doesn't
3
matter.
losses, they're done because they don't get a chance to win any popularity points on conference
and they would have lost their
championship
3 biggest
weekend.
games.
Right.
So
I really do think that that's more or less sort of an elimination
agree.
game for the playoffs tomorrow night. Again, 7:30. Also at 7:30, listen, number 11 Tennessee 5-1. At number 6, Alabama 5-1. All right, you can't get through a show without talking Alabama. People don't know what a big rivalry this is, and I want your opinion on something.
it's a good big rivalry.
It's called the third Saturday in October for a reason. There are books written on it. There's cigars smoked in whoever's locker room wins the game. And is this a year that Alabama is fortunate that they're everybody's big rival, much less big game in college football? Because go back and look, they just sort of went and did their thing a couple of weeks ago in Athens, get out of there with a win. Do the same thing with an undefeated Vanderbilt team at home the next week. They said the game Saturday at Missouri was Missouri's biggest home game in 20 years since they won, the SEC East the first 2 years. Now you got Bama wins them all. Now you got Tennessee, third Saturday in October, and what? I think it's one time in Bama's career that it's fortunate that you can't get too high or too low after a loss. It's just next game up.
Yeah, it's a heck of a schedule for Bama, and that Florida State game, I had a feeling they would lose that game because there was just so many unknowns with Florida State, and so there's no film on them. They got a new quarterback, they got a new system, they got all these new things going on, and so Alabama's playing them with kind of not knowing you're going in blind. And what happened. Well, now Alabama, since then, they've beaten Georgia. Last week's win was huge. They just winning those big games, right? And so, you're seeing a Georgia, Ole Miss team that is really, Alabama team that's got a hard schedule. They found ways to win these big games.
And Simpson's playing well.
Yes, he's playing really well.
Yep.
I think to be honest, between you and me, I think he should be up there in the Heisman Trophy conversation.
Win a few more of these ranked games.
And he will be.
He may very well be. He had a pass at Missouri on 4th down last week. That's one of those
moments. By the way, former Clemson. Clemson was a target. He was a target at Clemson and didn't come here.
All right. Then finally, 8 o'clock, one of the most underrated rivalries in college football, the Holy War. Utah 5-1. They're ranked number 23 at number 15. BYU 6-0.
That's gonna be a good one.
This is like a game to see who's going to get to play the best team money can buy this year. That's Texas Tech
in the
Big 12 championship game. Now I do think BYU and Texas Tech play in a couple of weeks. But my point being is Texas Tech hadn't been played inside of 20 points. They definitely are this year's version of the best team money can buy. So that Holy War,
They're the
not
Dodgers.
only is it a nasty rivalry, it's got a lot of implications on the college football playoff.
Yeah, and it's a good rivalry, too. I hate that they play this game in mid-season. Now, that game needs to be played near the end of the year. What are we doing, Big 12? Don't you want to highlight some of your bigger games like that? Hey, let's just throw it in the middle of the season. A big rivalry game where, by the way, both teams are ranked and one team's undefeated, the other only got one loss. Wouldn't that serve better at the end of the year if they're 10-0 and 9-1?
Well, I don't know.
Traditional rivalry weekend?
Would I be talking about that game if I've got Alabama, Auburn, Georgia,
If they're
Tech,
like that,
Clemson,
you
South
are.
Carolina, I know, but it might get lost more in the mix. I'm playing devil's advocate.
I know.
Nothing
I know
more,
what you're
nothing
saying,
less, so.
but who cares about Alabama, Auburn this year when Auburn sucks? And who cares
All right.
about Clemson or South Carolina this year? They both suck. So let's
Auburn
just
cannot. Real quickly before we get out to break, we'll look at SMU Clemson. I was asked on a show the other day, what does Auburn do with Hugh Freeze? You can't fire him. What point do you realize firing a football coach every 4 years doesn't work, and
Right.
especially in this day and age? I think they got to stick with it one more year. and we'll see. But I think who wants to take that job unless it's $100 million buyout if you know you might be gone in 4 years?
Yeah.
So
By the way, before we go, the only rivalry you'll care about to watch is just to see if Ohio State's going to lose to Michigan again.
And that didn't cost them a national championship last year by any stretch. All right, again, you can go check out the website, straightupsports.net. We'll have articles up by Scott Kiefer, Bob Gillespie, myself. We've got coverage tomorrow from Furman at Wofford, which, by the way, I made this point to Cliff earlier. I got so angry with ESPN last week and ABC highlighting that Auburn and Georgia is the oldest rivalry in the South.
It is.
It is not.
Oh.
It is Furman-Wofford.
Ah.
Now, go put that asterisk around major college football rivalry, and you are correct.
Okay.
But the oldest rivalry in the South, that little I-85 matchup at noon tomorrow between Furman, who took a bad loss at Western Carolina last week, and Wofford, who finally managed to get their first win of the season.
Paladins and Terriers.
Yep. So when we come back, it is all Clemson, SMU, and we'll be out the door as we get you ready for that kickoff, 3:30 tomorrow on the ACC Network.
Guys, we've got you covered this football season at straightupsports.net. We have the best retired writers assembled on one staff in the state of South Carolina, like Bob Gillespie, formerly of the state newspaper, Scott Kiefer from the Greenville News, me from ESPN Upstate. We even have a student reporter, McCain Childress, down on the coast, doing some Citadel and coastal things for us. But we'll change out the links and articles every week with some of the best stories. That's the key, the best stories you're going to see. Check us out, straightupsports.net.
My name is Shania Gullidge, and I work here at Traditions on the Lake. One of the things that I definitely think makes this place so special is the warm and welcoming environment. There is nothing on the menu that I do not like, and I'm typically a super picky eater, but there's literally not one thing that I wouldn't recommend. I think Traditions is definitely a perfect spot for a family. It is the perfect environment to bring your kids, very warm and inviting. It's just a very beautiful environment all around.
Kirk Fisher is a motorcycle attorney with first responder experience. He protects fellow riders and those in danger, fighting fires and fighting for your rights. Experienced, determined, and dedicated. Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Look for motorcycles, or Kirk Fisher will be looking for you.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment. What would Will Vandervoort and I be doing on a Friday night at Lakeside Lodge without doing the show? We'd be watching Miami and Louisville. Miami just threw a interception that pretty much worked as a punt, and Louisville continues to lead 14-7. So we're going to know here in a few minutes. That's why we held the show back for about 10 to see what Clemson does with their injury report. That should be out in 8 minutes. So we're still going to go through our keys to the game. But, Will, I mentioned to you during the break, my first two keys of 6 that I have written down here really aren't so much for Clemson, but maybe more for the fans, all right?
Okay.
Number one, I think Clemson fans would like to see the Tigers finally beat someone with a pulse right now.
Yeah, I think that's probably number one as you got listed, because they haven't done that since last year against Virginia. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the last time. It's kind of ironic that it was Tony Elliott in Virginia, the last one that they got, but they've lost 4 straight games against Power 4 opponents. They're trying not to get that proverbial fifth one that would put them in history. Would be the first time since 1970-71 losing 5. So yes, definitely a big key. Knock off a team with the pulse.
All right. Second, just win a game at home right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the history of Death Valley and what a difficult place it was. Clemson set a record with consecutive home wins. And now you lost 4 of your past 5 in a row against Power 4 conference teams. Just get a win at home. Just win, baby. Yeah. Regardless if Cade Klubnik is playing at quarterback or not. If he's not, this is when you need some leadership to step up. You know, you told me the guy that laid it out on the line there during halftime of the Troy game and during the rain delay was Peter Woods.
Yeah.
So guess what? Cade Klubnik's not there. Cade needs to be on the sideline in people's faces. You know, one of the things we know about Cade, he can be a fiery individual.
Yeah.
So he can still contribute to this game tomorrow, regardless if he's under center or not.
Yeah, absolutely. 59-1 from 2013 after the loss to Florida State to the loss against South Carolina at the end of the 2022 season. And during that was a 40-game home win streak. Now, to understand how impressive that is, that's the longest home win streak in college football since 1995. So that's impressive. Clemson's done something nobody else in college football has done. But yet, since that game against South Carolina, where they lost in that 2022 game, they're 12-6 in their last 18 home games. That's got to be better than that. They got to be better than that, trying to avoid that third loss this year in Death Valley. So get that win.
All right, number 3, this gets back into keys of the game. Regardless of who's under center tomorrow, if it's Klubnik, he's still going to be banged up a little bit, so you don't need to run him.
Mass protection.
But you need to run the ball. This needs to be a situation at times tomorrow that you might want to control the clock. Why? Because SMU's got a quarterback that can move the ball up and down the field in a heartbeat with a lot of weapons. So maybe this is a game tomorrow that you try to shorten it a little bit by controlling the clock and trying to control the line of scrimmage. I refuse to believe, even in this day of NIL and transfer, that Clemson should not be more physical along the offensive defensive lines than SMU.
Yes, however, strategically speaking, and this is why you wish Cade Klubnik was in the game, this is going to be probably the worst secondary they've seen.
Okay.
SMU is last in the ACC, giving up 315 yards a game against the pass. Even though they lead the ACC in sacks and they lead the ACC in interceptions, they also give up a lot of yards. There's guys going to be running wide open. So
well,
if you're Clemson, my thing –
for Vizina.
Well, here's what's going to happen. If you're SMU, if you know Cade Klubnik's not in the game, guess what you're doing? You're stacking the box. Mm-hmm. You're daring Clemson to throw the football. So, yeah, Vizina, if he's playing and Cade's not playing, that's what you got to do. You got to throw the football because guys are going to be open. They're going to have opportunities. You got to get the ball to them.
All right. Now, defensively, because, you know, we saw a game of 2 halves last year in the ACC championship game. Clemson jumps out the lead in the first half. SMU comes back, ties it. Then we know what happened in the final 30 seconds. But Kevin Jennings is just, quite frankly, a baller. There's nothing else that you can say about him. He's 14-5 as a starter for SMU. He's passed for at least 2 touchdowns in 13 of the past 17 games. So you got to know that he's going to make some plays tomorrow. But in my opinion, what you want to do is make him one-dimensional and make him one-dimensional throwing the ball.
I agree.
Because at that point, you're Clemson hitting the quarterback faster at 2.9 seconds than any other team in the country. Then you can start to sit back and tee off a little bit. But don't forget, Jennings has some other weapons there. He's got T.J. Harden, a running back who is big, 6'2", 220 pounds. His rush 415 yards on 85 attempts. Now, I know I went to an SEC school, but that's roughly 5 yards a carry, okay? 5 touchdowns on the season. And then they have a 6'2" wide receiver by the name of Romello Brinson.
Yeah.
32 catches on the year.
Almost 500
484 yards and 3 touchdowns. And again, 6'2", big body. So if you're giving up chunk plays in the running game, any kind of misdirection or that, it's going to be a tough day there in Death Valley. If you could make Kevin Jennings one-dimensional and take advantage of your defensive line, then that's what I think is the best road for the Tigers. But, you know, things look so much easier on paper than they do in reality.
Yeah, I think the key is you got to – if Clemson, the best chance to win is Jennings throwing the ball 50 times. Mm-hmm. That's what you want. even though he's really good at it. And he reminds me of a smaller Patrick Mahomes in the way that he can run the ball if he wants to, but he doesn't want to. So he tries to extend plays in the pocket. He's very good at manipulating the pocket and getting around. If you remember the AC Championship game last year, he's got lanes where he can run, but instead of running, he waits to see what's happening downfield. And it's hard to hold a receiver for 6 seconds.
Once he looks like he's going to run as a safety, you're going to go out there and try to make that tackle, and guess what? He's going to dink that ball right over your head.
And he can sidearm it. Yep. He can make all the throws you need to make. Very accurate guy. And the thing I like about him the most is, he'll take chances and throw interceptions, but the fact that he takes chances, that tells you what kind of quarterback he is. He's willing to take a chance to make a play because he knows, okay, I'll get him next time.
Well, yeah, there's no fear of failure because he thinks that he's going to be, like you said, get him on the next play. So, and then you're talking about a confident SMU team coming in and the fact they've won 19 consecutive regular season conference games going back to the final year of the American Athletic Conference. And, of course, came through undefeated last year until the championship game. So you're talking about a team under Rhett Lashley whose name is going to probably pop up in the Arkansas coaching search and things. I think SMU's got all the money in the world to keep them happy. But, if you get a win tomorrow, then I think you get to check off beat a team with a pulse. And it's so funny. It's so ironic. And it's so hard to think about what we've covered the last 10 years. And what do you want? You want to beat a team with a pulse tomorrow. That's how quickly it can change in college athletics right now.
Absolutely. And being physical, look, Clemson's going to try to be physical at the point of attack tomorrow. They did a good job the last couple of weeks. It's a different cat with this SMU team. And one thing I like their defensive line. They're very physical. They're going to give Clemson issues. They lead the ACC in sacks and tackles for loss. They're fourth. So that's going to be a tough matchup. And then on the other side, they got a good offensive line. They protect their quarterback, and they can run the football when they want to, and that's a tough team to deal with.
Well, yeah, and, all of it for the Tigers are going to depend on this announcement that's getting ready to come out from the ACC if Cade Klubnik is playing or not. The other thing is I think SMU, I've already seen Lashley's name come up, and I know some people with Tyson Chicken in the state of Arkansas that got more money than maybe even SMU does with the Methodist Church, you know what I mean? So their kind of pecking order, they told me the other day, was John Gruden and Rhett Lashley. So he knows that area of the country. So like Indiana, they settled their coaching situation this week. I thought that was going to be a hard thing for Indiana to navigate if Cignetti was going to be mentioned as the possible next head coach at Penn State for the rest of the season. To Indiana's credit, they went and locked him up. Now, never say never, especially in this day in college football, but at least he doesn't have to worry about that the fans don't have to worry about that this fall.
Exactly. He's going to focus on Indiana. Man, that's a good football team right there, I'm going to tell you. He's, of course, former Alabama, as you said, Alabama assistant. He does it Saban's way.
But here's the deal. Some of my Tennessee buddies jumped me, and then a bunch of rednecks from Tennessee jumped me last week because I said, to my Tennessee friends, if you want to know why people don't like your head baseball coach, Tony Vitello, look at Kirk Cignetti. He will tell you how it is. Well, I didn't say I didn't like that. I just said look at it. And it's the truth. It's like anything else in life right now, Will. People don't want to hear the truth. You know what I mean? He's very outspoken. He'll tell you like it is. And you know what? He can back it up. Did we ever think we would see a time that Indiana was in the college football playoffs and not the men's basketball Final Four? So
different time, different age.
Times. Anything come up on Cade yet?
Not yet. Still refreshing, unless the student worker who does these didn't put the dates properly.
The guess is if it comes out on this report, that means he's hurt. You might even want to think about, they don't play the following week. You get them ready for Duke. And that will, again, if it's Vizina under center, guess what? Shrink the game as much as you can, and then that SMU offense cannot hurt you. All right, well, some other things you're going to look for from up in the press box tomorrow. Again, our friends can follow you on Twitter at SteelerWill. Yeah. Your website, the Clemson Insider, ours, straightupsports.net. Got you covered. Furman and Wofford, Clemson, and a whole bunch of other stuff coming up.
Yeah, I'm interested, first of all, what this report does because that's going to tell us a lot. So right now Clemson's really delayed on getting it to them. So I don't know what that means. You read into what you want.
Did you really think you're going to – let's be honest.
It's been
Did you
it's
really
on time
think
every
you
week.
were going to send out anything but game time decision?
Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe not, but here's why. Because maybe you think this way. I'm playing devil's advocate.
Dude, they hadn't shot it.
Maybe you tell your quarterback, if it's Christopher Zena, you give him that
Right.
night to get it through.
That's
to think
one
it
thing
through.
I'm thinking about.
So he's
but
not
the other
nervous.
thing is they hadn't hot shot Klubnik's foot yet. He'll feel a lot better about 3:15 tomorrow afternoon than he will tonight.
Well,
laying around that hotel.
but right now,
so.
as of last night, questionable. Tristan Lee, questionable. So we're watching both those guys to see both ankle injuries, by the way. See if they can play. I doubt either one's going to play. My opinion, I doubt either one's going to play, just from what I've heard. We'll see what happens there, but that's something I'm going to be watching in pregame, just to kind of what those two guys, and we'll know. I'll know within 15 minutes when they get out there, because Cade, what he does his regular routine, and one thing he always does, he does these jumping jacks right off the bat, and if he can't really go, and then he does the jumping jacks, and then he does this run thing where he kind of makes sure he can plant and cut, and so we'll know right there if he's going to be able to go just by watching him during those warm-ups.
Well, I know we got a couple of SMU people out here watching. I will say this much. One thing that they went on, and listen, I'm sure Coach Brunell has a lovely wife, but I did not realize that SMU had hired Andy Einfeld away from Southern Cal. You remember Andy made his name at Florida Gulf Coast University?
Yeah.
So we 2 years ago in Greenville for the NCAA tournament, we had Southern Cal, and they got knocked out in the first round, and his wife, Andy Einfeld's wife, cried. And I had no problem with it. You don't know why?
Why?
She's a Maxim supermodel.
So you don't feel.
Yeah, he walks through the hotel on Tuesday. Dude, I don't think anybody knew who he was. I knew him 'cause
What's
of
a maximum supermodel?
Maxim?
I know. What is that?
Hot wife, okay? Hot wife, all right? And, but
I just wanted you to
here's the
say
thing.
it.
He's
Sorry,
walking through
Teresa.
the Hilton. He's walking through the Hilton on Tuesday, and there's nobody around him. I was like, I bet if he had his wife on his arm, he had an entourage of like 15 people. So,
All men.
So exactly.
Yeah.
In the meantime, thanks. Check out Will. He'll be in the press box tomorrow. 3:30 kickoff on the ACC network. And listen, thanks to our friends here, Shane Bounds and everybody at Lakeside Lodge. They take great care of us. We're getting ready to have some great music till 11 o'clock. Don't forget, 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be right here doing it for Halloween, getting you ready for that Duke contest. And yes, we are going to challenge everybody. You don't show up at Lakeside Lodge without a costume on. Fortunately, that means I can just come normally, okay? I mean, this is the scariest costume there is.
Yeah, it is actually. So, prediction, what do you think for tomorrow? With Cade, without Cade?
With Cade, Clemson somehow finds a way to win. Without it, you might be looking at a touchdown loss. But here's the thing. I realize now, going back to when we congregated in July, we all had Texas #1 with Arch Manning winning a Heisman Trophy. Man, this is Penn State's year with Drew Aller. And if that's not the case, it's Clemson with Cade Klubnik. And, there's this sleeper guy that at Florida that's a quarterback named DJ Lagway. Dude, we didn't know anything. So, the reality is kick back, enjoy the game, relax, and guess what? It's why college football Saturdays are nothing but the best.
Do you know that every week they've done this report?
It's
That
been
at
out at
8
8
o'clock,
o'clock.
right at 8 o'clock? Tonight, it's not doing that.
Yeah, I got the feeling the fax machine at the hotel in Anderson's
Really?
broken down right
Really?
now.
Yes, I think you're right. By the
All
way,
right.
I think either way, because Cade's not 100%, he's not going to be used in the run game. Clemson needs him in the run game. I think SMU wins this game regardless of who's quarterbacking tomorrow.
You can't let it turn into a horse race.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the ironic thing with their nickname being the Ponies. But if this thing gets into a track meet,
It's
advantage
over.
SMU.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Clemson's defense got to show up.
All right. In the meantime, check us out online, ClemsonInsider.com, Lakeside Lodge, Clemson.com. You can come book your rooms for the weekend. It's a condo hotel. If you're looking to purchase something here in the Clemson area, even better, you can rent it out when you're not using it and make some of your money back. But thank you to Shane and David Slevin and Leighton Cubbage. And again, we couldn't do it without Cliff Witherspoon back there from Red Arrow SC. You can find him at Red Arrow SC. In the meantime, enjoy your college football Saturday. Hope your team wins.